Wanted to build a truck for $2,500, and that's including the truck price. So my cousin had this step side he had for a long time. He offered to me for $1,000, and I went over and checked out the frame. As long as we have a good frame to start from, I believe that is a great foundation, and we can go from there. But this truck is more than just a good frame. It has a good body. It runs good, it moves, and there's nothing really wrong with it, just it needs some maintenance, right? So I gave him $1,000 for this truck. I brought it home. We're going to build this truck for $2,500 or less. That means wheels and tires, that means a paint job, that means making stuff sound good, making things look good, and making this truck enjoyable to drive and enjoyable to look at, even though it's just an old 1988 Chevy truck with a carbureted 350. At the end, you'll see the results of this truck, and you can see how you can take $2,500 and make an awesome truck, and you don't have to spend $1 million to have a nice looking, OBS Chevy. And I can't wait to build this thing. Taking this carburetor apart, we did take it off the old Chevy because it was flooding a little bit, and it looks like it could use some help. Wasn't the best carburetor. It worked, but like I said, it was flooding a little bit, so we're gonna go ahead and take it apart today. I like to mark what hole that it came off of with some kind of marker. And there's gonna be a little clip right here you just want to pull off, and I like to put this safe somewhere. Now, I'll show you why I got tinfoil out in a little bit. You'll need a Sharpie because it's important that you remember where some of this stuff goes. So
after you got the linkage done, you just pull it out right here. Come right with it. That should drop. And you start taking out your screws. They shouldn't be torqued down like He-Man because you don't need that much torque on these things. A lot of people put these carburetors together and they'll torque them down like a head bolt, which you don't need to do. Just snug. Just remember, snug is all you need with a carburetor.
Just go ahead and pop this off. There's your floats. We're going to lay that aside for now. Make sure you get all the gas out of your carburetor before you bring it in or wherever you're going. Just make sure you get all the gas out because it will stink. So we're going to go ahead and take this off. Now let's lay that right there in the middle. And there's going to be a little brass thing in here. And what you want to do is take your carburetor. There's going to be a little brass thing and a little ball in there. So just tip it over. And here's the brass piece. And here's the ball. Then you have rear right. And you just pretty much do the same thing. There's going to be a spring in here. Go ahead and take that out. You take this, and you know that goes to the left, so I don't bother writing, and then I just take this out and I set it just like this over here out of the way. And we can actually grab a hold of these, lay them down on each side. That way when I pick them up, they go back in. It does have a little dirt in it though.
These things are super, super simple. Can't go wrong with rebuilding them. When I was younger, I thought this was a crazy thing to get into.
There's really no need in taking it somewhere and paying a bunch of money and having somebody do this for you. Alright, so basically got that whole bottom piece stripped down. We can clean all this out, clean the outside off, if that's what you want to do. So we'll lay that aside. Now we have the top. Now I usually don't mess with this as long as there's nothing wrong with it. As long as the spring ain't broke, I just replace the gasket. These I keep in place for now, as long as they're fine, they're not messed up or anything. But now we're going to take the floats off. Basically all you do is kind of lift up and kind of tap on the pin and just pull it out with your fingers. And like I said, I want it to be like I'm in the truck, right? So this would be your right. So you just take your float out, needle valve. That one looks wore out. And you just do the same thing on this side. And that one looks pretty wore out too. And hold this up to your ear. You can even put them in water, see if they float or whatever. Make sure there's nothing in these. If you don't want to replace these, I mean, if you don't want to, if these don't have any holes in them, you don't have to replace them. So we want to go ahead and take these out. Oh, there's some dirt on that one. It just has a little screen. Oh yeah, there's some dirt down in there. Like I said, I'm going to blow this out with a air compressor. So that's no big deal. Oh yeah, all kinds of dirt on that one. It's packed full. And there's something actually down in that. That's disgusting. Blow it out with the air compressor. Use carb cleaner. You take your gasket off. And you just lay it aside because you'll get a new one. So basically, that's basically how you take it all apart. Rebuild kit, Hour Block rebuild kit. This covers mine. This kit here covers mine. Mine is a 1405. This covers it. Same thing. You'll have maybe some extra parts left, so don't worry about that. So I'll go ahead and put this stuff together. So it's dang near impossible to get these things mixed up. And it comes with a new ball. Just make sure the ball is the same size ball that you had in it. Don't get them mixed up either. Looks like the same size ball. You're going to go ahead and put the brass piece after you put your ball in. Right there. I'm just going to go ahead and put this back on. Now when you put this stuff on, it don't have to be torqued like a head bolt. Just snug it up a little bit. You don't have to have it real tight, because just enough for it to seal. And then move this stuff over out of the way. And then we have a new plunger seal and everything, but we want to go ahead and match these gaskets up right here. As you can see, it's almost impossible to get these things backwards. Don't let this thing intimidate you. Look, you can't put those on backwards. It only goes on one way. Now, the instructions tell you to take a 7/16 drill bit, which I have a tool that I made. It's right here. It's 7/16, and put it right under there, halfway where it starts moving up. With your gasket on. That one can be lifted a little bit. And when you go ahead and bend these, you grab them where it's soldered. We go and do the float drop measurement. Thing down in there like so. You might have to finagle with it a little bit, but it will go. And then we start putting our bolts and everything back in. So that's pretty much it. I just hooked my my choke over here, right here, to a manual choke, and that's it. She's ready to go back. I got the front of the motor tore down. This took me like a half hour. This is how simple a 350 is. It's so simple. I don't even have to take the radiator out to pull that crank. Harmonic balancer. I'm waiting on the puller. I got all the gaskets and stuff here. I ordered a big gasket kit. Whoever put this water pump on was really scared that it was going to leak, I think. I don't know what was up with that. So we got to pull the crank off and then pull the cover off. I'm going to check the timing chain while I'm here. Other than that, I'm going to pull the oil pan. But for sure, this is what's leaking. Because, as you can see down in there, it's all over the front of the case. Now, the problem is, this is an old 350. This came out of a 69 to 79. This is when he was built. That's what the number is on the back of the head. Well, where the head meets, back on the block. So this thing probably has a lot of miles on it. And I guarantee what happened is the harmonic balancer shaft has a groove in it, and it's no longer sealing. So we're going to put a sleeve kit on it, put the new gasket in, and then put the new gasket on this. We got to take this off. I do have to get a new alternator bracket over off another motor and get another bolt, because there ain't no bolt in this one. Maybe clean up the front of this motor a little bit, make it look a lot better than it is. Might even go ahead and throw a new fuel pump on there just because I can. But I think this motor was rebuilt sometime. The reason why I say that is because everything looks like it was new a while back, but it looks like it's been rebuilt just by the gaskets and like everything. So I'm pretty impressed with the motor overall. So I went ahead and washed the front of the engine, degreased it, made it look a lot better than a ball of grease. So I think it looks a lot better. Power steering pump still looks like poop, but that's going to be needing replaced here soon anyways. I'm not worried about it. But somebody did paint it, so that means it was out of the vehicle at some time. It is blue, and it's not a 305. It is a 350 by the numbers on the block. So looks like it's been painted a few times, really. But still waiting on the puller. Got to pull this off and get the crank seal out. Somebody's put an oil pan gasket on it not too long ago, it looks like, to be honest with you. And I don't know what's up with that, so guess we'll see. So I got the oil pan off. I did have to lift the motor up. Got all the bolts out of the mount. Had to lift it up a good bit actually, to actually get it up high enough to get the oil pan off. And there wasn't even a seal on this thing. They just gooped it. That's basically all they done. So when you're doing these, you have to lift the motor or pull the front diff. It's easier to lift the motor than it is to pull that diff right there. You just lift that motor up till it stops. Don't push it any farther and it'll come right off. Oil pan will slide right off. I got the oil pan off, right? Now I want to show you guys why you don't use Permatex or gasket sealer, because this thing right here is full of it. I mean full of it. And if you can't get an oil pan to seal with the rubber, you're not doing something right. So make sure you just put the gasket on. You can use a little bit of Permatex on the corners to keep the gasket on, but this stuff will plug up your oil pump. I mean, it's in there. Look at that. That's all got to come out of there. Look at that. That is nasty. Just make sure you get every ounce of that out of there. Pretty much good. Oh, see that? Still some in there. All kinds of it in there. Look at that. Make sure you get all that out of there. As you can see, there's still a little bit in there. Still got to pick around. Just get all that out. As you can see, I got most of this side out. Just got to fiddle with this side and get all that gunk out of it. In the mail, 17 bucks, right? You got to find the bolts that fit, which usually a Chevy has fine threads on it, right? So you gotta find the bolt that fits, make sure it fits, don't use the wrong one, strip it out. And you just wanna go ahead and put your puller together. It's just super simple. Basically, you just pull this little brass thing off and it pops right back on. And you just continue to screw this like this right here. And keep oil on this thing. A lot of people will buy these off Amazon, strip them out and say they're junk. Keep oil on this thing, I'm telling you, and it will last. Basically, this will go like this. You gotta find the right footing for it. And it's right there, like that, right there. You put your bolts in. Don't force these in there. Sometimes I'll do a little something funny, just kind of mess with them a little bit to get them going. Because like I said, you don't want to strip this harmonic balancer out. Because if you strip the harmonic balancer out and then you can't get it off, you're going to get a 3-claw puller and it makes stuff 10 times worse to sit here and pull on that. So kind of do it until it stops, because you don't want to push it off with the bolts. It's one thing you don't want to do, because you could damage something. Now another thing you want to do is make sure the pressure is even across this puller. You don't want one bolt way in, the other one out, and this, you know, you want it even all crossed. So this one was sticking out a little bit, making it crooked, so I just ran in a little bit more. Ratchet on. So basically, I just have a extension right here, so that way it doesn't hit the main threads. I'm just holding down and using a breaker bar, because it gets pretty tough after a while. I'm just using a breaker bar to really cinch this thing to where I can get it off, because this sucker can be on there. Usually when it pops loose, it starts coming. Sleeve kit for this, because as you can see it is grooved. Now let me get the sun out of the way. It's grooved pretty good actually. I'd say it would leak if we put it back on like that. I mean, we might be able to get by with, I've seen worse, so I don't know. I might not have to sleeve it, I don't know yet. That actually doesn't look that bad. Just in some parts, there's some grooves in it. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and take the cover off. Check out the timing chain while we're here. Might as well, we're here. Gotta put a new gasket on it anyway. Might as well not skimp out on that. Let's go and pull this pan off here. So this is why you can't replace all this with the oil pan on, because of the dowels. Look at all that goopy poopy on there. It's crazy. Man, that seal's wore out. Chain's pretty loose. Might as well replace it while I'm here. All right, we got the new timing chain and gear in, the bottom and the top. So got that in. Just got to put the gasket on and put the cover back. I'm gonna clean up the cover. I got to put the crank or the timing chain gasket in, whatever they call it. I call it a crank seal. Or this one was compared to this one, and this one will fit right down in there. First, we got to clean all that out. Some come with the Permatex on the outside. I like to clean this up and put it on the inside. That way there's no possible way for it to leak. Just want to get all the oil out of there so the Permatex will stick. Even take some brake cleaner, spray this out, clean it up real good. That way you have no chance of a leak. Look real close. You can see I just have a minimal squeeze out. You don't need a ton of this stuff, okay? Just enough to get it flush and sealed. All right, got the pan back on. Everything's torqued down. Just gotta put the harmonic balancer back on. All right, got the harmonic balancer on, torqued to spec. Now we gotta put the oil pan on and then start putting the motor back together. So what I did was got this one-piece gasket, and it comes with the thing to hold it up. It comes with new bolts, the front and back bolts. It comes with the lock washers. Sometimes some of these vehicles call for different ones. Mine only had the thick front, so we'll see if we can get this to work. It might not work, but everybody's saying it will, because as you can see, this is a little bit thinner. So we'll see. And it looks like it fits mint. Fits real good. I like it. So we got everything back on. I do have to plug this vacuum port here. Other than that, we should be able to start it up. Alright, so we got the alternator on, crank seal, oil pan gasket, clutch master, and slave cylinder. And I went ahead and included the carb rebuild kit, the battery, and the timing chain that we bought. We're at $279.38. So that is 1,000. That's including the puller. It's $1,279.38. That's not bad. On next episode, we buy these wheels for super cheap. All we gotta do is clean them up. Then we go ahead and crank up the torsion bars to level off the truck a little bit. And then we talk about paint and body work and what we're going for with this truck and the theme.